answer, Clive. What's your emotion right now?
What's my emotion right now? I mean, Steve Borthwick's team just got to be taken on board. I mean, I'm not going to go back from. I thought it was a well-selected team. I think that was one of the best teams he could put out. But just the physicality of the French team, and not the athleticism was the French team. From especially 1 to 8 was just amazing. So he's got to not overreact. It happens, as Benjamin says. England were never going to win that game today. We were second by a long, long way. But it's not that big a gap. But I think we've got to go and play Ireland next week. It's a bit of a sobering thought. I just think, I mean, I keep stressing this. I'm just saying, we start the game, we just kick long, give them a free catch, get them into the game, away you go. French second half, they go short. Now England won the ball, but they go short. They're trying to get the ball all the time. The mentality of the tight team is still not the same as the French team. This is down to Galtier. There's no doubt about that, and Edwards. And I think Steve's got a lot of learning to do. But he's a young coach. He's just started the international career. But we've got to get our mentality right. That we want the ball at all the times. We've got to feel comfortable on the ball. But it's a sobering day, but no bones about that. We were both there in Australia. I was coaching the team when we lost 70 odd points, but it was kind of our second, third team to actually see in the Six Nations game. I never thought I'd see that scoreboard ever at Twickenham.
Well, the 2 worst defeats, that's one. You played in the other one, Johnny. It's nothing to do with you.
Played in both.
Okay, yeah. You played in both. But in a way, that feels like the heaviest defeat for, if we can call it, a first-string, full-strength England team, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's really interesting because it's what needs to happen. There's no other way around it. It's not a wrong turn, and it's not the end of the path. This is the path. In that 1998 game, for me, it was a real cleansing opportunity to just realise that the story of who I thought I was could no longer carry on. It had to be. It was almost forced to change, and in that change, I found brand new possibility. In Bloemfontein in 2007, yes, in the summer there, we lost the game by 50 points. Within 3 months, we're in the World Cup final. It doesn't mean, this means years and years and years of this. What it means is this has to happen. It's a massive humility check in all kinds of ways, but not in a way that those guys are arrogant in any way, but it's a kind of way of realising there's an evolution that needs to take place, and it's a huge learning experience. And if there's that desire and intention to push on, it will turn into something bigger and better. However long that takes, I don't know, and which players will be there and which won't, I don't know. But if those guys have the energy to go again, which of course they do, it's going to keep moving. And it's maybe a bit of a check for us all who are there going, this is the moment. So, well, we just maybe need to all take that on board, as Clive said, and just say, let's see what's next. But I think that team will come out lighter next time on the field. They'll feel more bouncy on their feet. They won't feel heavier because of this defeat. In that Ireland game, I think there'll be a freshness about the team, able to say, okay, let's stop pretending. Let's go out there and just give it a crack.
Let's have a word with Maggie Alfonsi down pitch side. Maggie, I think the obvious question to you is, we've obviously been watching it up here. What was the sense of what was going on down with you pitch side?
So, Mark, I'll be absolutely honest with you. Sitting pitch side amongst all the England fans, it was a hard watch. And as you heard, when the whistle blew, lots of boos. And I guess watching it from the pitch side, you almost felt like England lacked that intensity. And I know you guys have already mentioned in the studio, it felt like the French had this mindset that they weren't going to stop. And the stats basically are against England all the way. 26 missed tackles in defence. France made 9 line breaks, and England conceded 7 penalties at the breakdown. So for me, England just seemed to lack that ability to compete in all facets of the game today.
Did they just seem France quicker, stronger, half a yard quicker, more athletic, all those things, Maggie?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they were almost 2 or 3 phases ahead of England. Look, you've already touched on it as well. England played well in patches, but you could feel almost the mindset, the body language of all the England players, even when they came off the pitch and sat on the bench. Their heads were down, and there's a lot to work on, and questions need to be asked. But just to echo what Johnny Wilkinson has already said in the studio, it's almost best to happen now, this defeat to happen 6 months out before the Rugby World Cup, so improvements can be made.
And in any sport, Maggie, sometimes you go to a match and there is a sense of momentum, isn't there, about the proceedings that you're watching, and the team that are getting thumped, whatever they do, it's like, the wave is going over the top of them, and there's nothing they can do to alter that. Did you get that sense increasingly throughout that second half?
Yes, I hate to say it did feel like that. It almost felt like the pressure was just being piled on with England, and the momentum, the crowd. You almost felt like it was a French home game, because even at the end of the game when they did their lap of honour, the scenes were unbelievable. The crowd are coming down, they were cheering the French team. the French team were taking their time around the pitch. It just felt like it was all with France today. And again, lots of questions do need to be asked, but there's an opportunity to build on this performance for England because, again, there's still time to do that.
Maggie, you go and get dry, and we will have those questions to Steve Borthwick from Martin Bayfield.
Steve, that's an uncomfortable day for England, a comfortable day for you and your players, I guess.
Yes, certainly. I thought you have to give immense credit to France. I thought they played brilliantly and clearly a world-class team there. For us, we were really disappointed with that performance. Lots of things that we intended to and weren't able to do and didn't execute, and ultimately we got punished by a great France team.
It seems as though they were better than England in pretty much every department. Let's look at the breakdown area where England traditionally have been strong. You were decidedly second best there. Is that a particular cause for concern?
Well, I think we lost collisions across on both sides of the ball, in attack and defence. We lost collisions. We knew they had immense power in their team and size, and we tried to go about dealing with it, and unfortunately we didn't. They won the collisions and were able to offload and got away to score, and when we attacked, they were able to dominate us in terms of their tackle, our carry, and then expose the breakdown. So there's plenty of work on the collision area we need to improve.
What's fixable now? What's going to take longer?
Well, I think the as we talk about these, continuing to try and put some strong foundations in place, and we got exposed to. I said before the game that there would be, we'd get a measure of where we're at in terms of our development, and I think what you can see is just how far away we are in terms of there is a gap, there is a big gap between us and the top teams in the world. What we'll do is we're going to address it and try and close that gap as quick as we can.
Is the gap bigger than you thought it might be?
Well, I don't think it really matters in terms of what compared with what I thought it was going to be. I think what matters is we understand where we're at and we understand how much work we've got to do.
Steve Borthwick's right, and he said it always. England are that second group, really, aren't they, when it comes to the world's best? There's no question of that, and that's been underlined this afternoon.
Yeah, yeah, maybe it has. And I, Martin Bayfield said it's uncomfortable, and it is a little bit. But at the same time, we need to find that solid ground from which we can start building, and I think we haven't quite found it yet. So each game has kind of been finding that ground, and maybe this is the place where it feels right to start building up. And it's a shame because all the intention, the preparation is right there, and the desires are. I've been in the camp and watching it, and you're like, all the work's been done, the details have been crossed, but it's just not quite happening. And once you find that point where you know it does start happening, and you are able to start seeing exactly what you're training, and there it is on the field. Now we take that and we add to it and we add to it, but we're just not quite there yet, and it must be tough. But for the players, there's a lot of proud people, and that must be really, really, tough to take.
Final word from you, Sir Clive, on that?
Well, Steve said before the start of the game, we'll know where we were at the end of this game, so I think we now know where we are, and we're not in a great place. But I think, the fundamentals of rugby are line-outs and scrum. We did okay to them. I think it's a really good team. So our scrum went okay, our line-out went okay. It's the breakdown that we absolutely got smashed. And Steve was right, on our ball, with the ball, and defending, we got absolutely taken the cleaners. When we couldn't get it, we gave away penalties. The game just slipped away from us. But I still think we've just got to be a bit more adventurous now. We've got to take the world on, and we've got to get adventurous. And, it's not all doom and gloom, but we know where we are, as Steve said, and we're not in a great place, but he can take it only one way from here.